Mike Wolfe and Frank Fritz joined together to host one of the most popular reality shows known to American history. The central theme of the reality show is two Midwestern pickers traveling across America to discover hidden treasures from people's attics, barns, and garages. The concept intrigued people, and the reality show was simple yet successful. It has 24 seasons in total, and everything that came out is worth watching. But is it really teamwork when one makes deals behind your back? Welcome back to the channel, and today we are going to explore the deals made by Mike Wolfe that seem to push American pickers to the worst end of the media. The show started off with two decisive men with a unique catch for neglected items, but instead turned it into something much more important. They would just go around America in search of rare American artifacts and national treasures for their antique shops. Seems like a pretty normal show, doesn't it? But it wasn't long before the American pickers had started to go downhill. The main duo of the show were sliced apart when one left the show permanently. Things were going smoothly until the 7th episode of the 21st season, when Frank Fritz decided to leave the show permanently. But what may have been the sole reason for the drastic decision? Let's further look into Frank's perspective. The 7th episode of season 21 was supposed to go as follows. Both the guys were planning to explore the U.S. in hopes of collecting ancient artifacts. But what seemed like yet another ordinary episode was the last one that starred Frank Fritz in it. This unleashed both rage and confusion among fans as they demanded an explanation for the same. When asked about the issue, Frank replied that he wanted to join back into the show, but the network wouldn't give him a definite answer. He said they talk out of both sides of their mouth. It would be like me telling you I want to go back on the show and then tomorrow going, I never said that, I never said anything about that, he continued. The showrunner called me on my birthday on October 11 of last year, and he said, I'll call you back tomorrow, but I haven't heard from those people at all. They don't contact me. This seemed to portray a great intention of hesitancy to allow Frank back into the show if it wasn't clear enough already. On numerous other occasions, the co-stars often spoke about each other, whether it be a greater good or their unfathomable bad traits. But Fritz unfortunately was not at the receiving end of considerable compliments. In fact, it was rather quite the contrary. During the 20th and 21st seasons of the show, Fritz claimed that the show and the dealings were never scripted, and that the reason was for the pure genuine emotions to be displayed of the people starring in it, which makes the show more genuine and easy to be intrigued by. This warmed the audience's hearts, and hence received a lot of positive feedback for his thoughtful ideas. But Fritz's public image did not stay in the light for too long as the shades started closing in eventually. In one such comedic scene, Fritz was perceived by the netizens and the public eye as petty and arrogant. Frank Fritz is one of the main characters in the show and had to be careful and mindful of his acts and words. But in this scene, he seemed to have taken it too far. Fans began to speculate his true colors, and whether this was an honest mistake or was it just one of his character traits. In season 13, episode 14, Frank Fritz seemed to be driving a van while Mike Wolfe is seen to be talking to someone on the phone constantly. Although Wolfe seemed to be negotiating a business deal and seemed to be trying his best to do his part, Fritz argues that he is taking too long and that he isn't making good progress and is an unwelcome staple of virtuality. He then states that it took the latter a solid 31 minutes to make a deal. His exact words were 31 minutes about the same motorcycle. The last time I drove the van in silence was when? Oh, that's right, never. Even though this was obviously scripted just for comedic relief, fans and the viewers took this the wrong way. They claimed that Fritz knew exactly what he was talking about, and that even though it was scripted, these statements to reflect his overall personality traits. They pointed out that Fritz was bitter and a discourteous partner who takes issue with the fact that his co-worker chooses to use his free time to make a business deal which would profit both of them. But rather than being appreciated, Fritz was critical of it. This put Frank Fritz in hot water, as he was then accused of jeopardizing the friendship between the two co-stars. But it is fathomable that when two people are close with each other and one among them might disagree with the other's habits, there is always a possibility of quarrels such as these. But that seemed to not be the case in this scenario, as both the casts seem to have quite a bit of hatred towards the other. He admits that it is just the way it is, and he also had a strong feeling that Wolfe had something to do with his decline on his return to the show. This was done to succeed his motive of making his brother Robbie Wolfe a full-time co-star replacing Frank's position. Fritz also felt that Mick might have turned on him even though he hadn't bad-mouthed him. He also revealed that the fans preferred and liked him more on the show than Mick, despite Mick being the center of attention of the show. He said, "The show is titled towards him 1000%, he claimed. "I can't even bend that far down to show you how much. That's fine. It's like you've got Aerosmith, and there's Steven Tyler, and he's the frontman. I found my spot, I'm second, and he's number one on the show. That's no problem with me. Maybe he does have a problem." And he later even said, "I'm not arrogant, and I'm more of a regular old guy. The guy that connects with me is the guy who buys a 30-pack of Busch Light and a pizza on the weekend. That's my guy. My guy buys a $150 sign, not an $8,000 sign. I'm more of the common man guy. I haven't found a $100,000 bass or any Michelangelo stuff. I've never really had a big score like that. But all the small scores are the bread and butter, and that's my deal." Do you think what Frank Fritz is saying might be true, or is it just the delusion that's talking? But the co-stars of the show seem to have a different opinion based on Fritz's explanation. Their co-star Danielle Colby wrote, "Out on the road again with my best friend, and my big brother, who I support fully and stand behind." Colby captioned the photo, "Thank you for the last decade of advocacy towards myself and others on set. At Mike Wolfe American Picker, I'm proud of how you have handled the last 12 years and look forward to many more years of rolling around this big blue marble together." But despite standing up for Wolfe, Colby also shared relatively good thoughts on Fritz. She said, "I'm truly saddened by the loss of Frank on the show. I'm incredibly sad for his struggles. I have personally watched everything over the last decade. I have many thoughts but won't speak them as they are only my thoughts, not gospel. I wish things could have been different, but we must be accountable for our actions when we cause instability or pain and suffering to others." She further added, "Frank caused so much pain for himself that it has been hard to watch. I truly hope Frank receives all the help he needs to become well after years of being unwell. It is not my place to speak ill of someone who needs help, so I will keep my comments uplifting. I'm sending love to everyone." Another incident that caught attention was when Fritz attended an interview with The Sun in July 2021. He was clearly not hesitant to display his feelings towards his co-star Mike Wolfe. He said, "I haven't talked to Mike in 2 years. The context behind this statement goes back to when Fritz suffered from a back injury, and Mike, despite knowing what had happened to him, did not call in to check up on him. This created a rift between the two. The quarrel also extended up to July 2022, until Mile decided to step up to clear his set on Instagram. He said, "I have been very private in the past year regarding Frank's life and the journey he's been on. There has been lots of opinions in regards to mine and Frank's friendship in the show. But now is not the time to set the record straight. Now is the time to pray for my friend. Frank has suffered a stroke and is in the hospital. Please keep him in your hearts and thoughts. Frank, I pray more than anything that you make it through this okay. I love you, buddy." Comment down below what you think of the quarrels between the two men, and if it were to ever be reversible, and don't forget to like and subscribe for more such videos.